The party continued their journey, and in the depths of the king's chambers they came across a door. "There's no lock to pick," the rogue said, and as she put away her lockpicks, grabbed a golden candle holder from the wall. "The door has an inscription on it," the wizard said with a confident flourish of his robe. "What has keys and can't open locks?" After a moment of contemplation, the wizard triumphantly shouted, "A piano!" Dramatically, he turned the handle and nearly stumbled into the still locked door. "Guess we have to find another way," the rogue said, turning around when the barbarian ripped the door off its hinges and they continued on. This is Tales Around the Tavern's Table. Everyone knows the feeling of just needing that 20. You've been stuck on the same mission. You've been praying to the dice gods. Ooh, dice gods. And you just need a good roll. But of course, the dice gods answer to no man. And you get stuck with whatever roll they decide to give you that day. And honestly, it's a lot more failures than it is successes. At least you remember the failures, I think. I think critical failures are what give the game so much depth. Obviously, good writing and all of this other nonsense. It's gonna be important, but the critical failures is just like the what gives it all its flavor. It's like the MSG of DND, I guess. I remember several very funny critical failures in my day. There was a time that mid-combat, my beloved gnome Steven got accidentally kicked down a flight of stairs. I don't think it was on accident, but it was a critical failure. They just were allowed to pick exactly what they did to my poor gnome. And she was out of combat basically the rest of the time. I think she got stuck in a box, couldn't get out. It was just failure after failure after failure. The only critical failures that I have to say I absolutely hate are critical death saves. Nothing's more disheartening than you've been building up this character. You have all this backstory. It has its traits. It has its whatever they're called. Their skills, their flaws. Yes, that. And you've fallen in love with this character. This character is a piece of you. And then it dies because the dice gods did not smile upon you this day. And all you can do is continue on, make a new character, start over. And a piece of you dies that day, just like your character did. I've had so many first session deaths that honestly, it's mind-blowing. I don't currently play D&D and I want to get back into it. I actually want to start a Patreon so that I can start DMing for a bunch of people online, and then together we just go through and we play these cool campaign ideas that I have. I'm working towards it. I'm thinking I'm going to get my Patreon up tonight. So if you guys want to join my Patreon, go ahead and do that. But yeah, critical death saves, especially on first session characters, nothing's worse. And honestly, we're not just here to talk about the critical failures of D&D. We also want to talk about the critical successes. I mean, there was a time I chopped a man in half somehow with my flurry of blows or something. It was something ridiculous. The big bad evil guy, he didn't have any health, and I rolled a flurry of blows and I got 2 critical successes and punched his head, like decapitated this man with my fists. He didn't have a lot of health. The DM actually wanted us to like show mercy and take him in for custody, but I just wanted him down. So I did a flurry of blows on him. There was this one time I was DM. I've only DM'd a handful of times, and the first time I DM'd, my party absolutely got out of control. I gave them way too much money, I gave them way too much freedom, and it was honestly, it was a shit show. But I allowed our paladin to be a paladin of Hextor as long as he was lawful evil. Because, in my opinion, paladins should be able to be lawful evil. Because a lawful evil person does not understand that they're evil. They think that they are doing good. They think that they are doing what is actually right, and what the general population thinks is right is not right. So I said that if he was going to be a lawful evil paladin, he needed to have his own set of morals that he was going to follow, right? So he was a paladin of Hextor, the god of slavery. So he thinks that slavery is important and that it's necessary for society, and that's why it should be allowed, and that's why everyone who's against slavery is wrong. But you don't enslave kids, and you don't kill kids unless they're orphans and all of this other stuff. Well, he comes to me and says, "Oh, DM, master of our world, will you please allow me to have a slave?" And I got that evil DM twinkle in my eye, and I said, "Yes, I'll let you have a slave." So I allow this man to have a slave, and it's going very poorly. I didn't say the slave would be obedient. In fact, the slave was so disobedient that they killed her one time with a Minotaur's whip. They don't know this, unless they're listening right now, but they actually killed that slave, but I had bigger plans than just letting a slave die. I had the party get petrified for 1,000 years, and when they awoke, they realized the war they were fighting was still going on, and all this other stuff. And basically, they were in a dystopian society that was a remnant of what they once had. But the slave was gone, and all through the towns they went through, they were seeing evidence of this woman priestess who was preaching the good word and trying to stop the war, but it was very underhandedly. And they went through and they found her, and she transported them into this different dimension that they had to get out. But the final boss was that slave, who is the god of evil and chaos, who had corrupted the mind of this young priestess into forcing her to preach peace, but in a way that would cause more war. I want to know, what do you guys think of AI? Because honestly, I think it might be really cool to do AI generated D&D stories just as kind of like a gimmick, where I put them in there and see if they can come up with better stories than I can. Cuz like I'm fairly creative. I just told you a story about how I let my party enslave a god, and I don't know how else to say that other than I'm creative and really funny, and I had this sort of charisma. But I wonder if AI could mimic that in a way. I feel like a lot of the AI stuff that I do try to do is very two-dimensional. So, yeah. But the last story I have for you guys today is the story about how I kept rolling insight on fog and eventually actually found out it was evil. So I am playing this monk who has decided after being betrayed by a spellcaster that all spellcasters are evil. Don't judge me too much. I'm a one-trick pony. All that stuff I said about being creative and charismatic and my friends listening to this podcast, it's all a lie. It's all a lie. I don't have friends. This is all made up. I don't play D&D. Who am I? Just kidding. Anyway. Um So she is going through this evil fog, or this fog that is like making them like that you go in and you come right back out. The fog is disorienting, and so as kind of a joke and kind of not, I decided to roll insight on the fog. Yeah, the fog's magical. I don't have detect magic. I'm just a monk. I don't know how to dispel it. I don't know anything. So I refuse to go in the fog. And I watch the party go in and out and in and out. And I watch the scion try to dispel the fog. And I just laugh. Um, After that point on, I tried to roll insight on everything to try to figure out if it was good or evil. I don't remember exactly if it's insight. I don't have my player's handbook right in front of me. It's just in the other room. Anyways, guys, I think that's all we have time for today. Sorry if my voice is a little monotone. I'm a little tired today. It's been a few years since I've even done this podcast, but we're going to start releasing weekly episodes. So please make sure that if you have some really good D&D stories that you email me at talesaroundthetavernstable.pod at gmail.com. Like and subscribe, turn on notifications, do all of that because it really helps me grow. You can follow me on TikTok at Tales Around the Tavern's Table. I'm basically Tales Around the Tavern's Table everywhere. And email me your D&D stories if you want to hear my thoughts on them. So far, it's only been my D&D stories, so of course I already know what I think. But I'd like to see yours so I can tell you what I think of your misadventures with your characters and your zany concepts for characters. Maybe you'll have more than one character idea like me. Anyways, guys, I hope you have a wonderful week, and I hope to do this again next week. Thanks.